Hi guys, welcome to another video. Hope you're all keeping well. Now for this video, I'm going to talk about five Hammer horror movies from my collection. They're all standalone movies. They've never had sequels, which I think are all underrated. Many of you might be familiar with these movies, but if you're not, I'll read you the blurb at the back of each one just to give you an idea of the story. Yeah, so as I say, I've got five here from my personal collection. All, as I say, all standalone movies, and I've got one honorary mention at the end. All right then, guys. So without further ado, let's just get straight into it. So the first movie I'd like to show you is one of my favourite Hammer horror movies from the 1960s. It stars Ray Barrett, and it's called The Reptile. Now, when I first saw this creature way back in the late 60s on our old black and white telly, it absolutely terrified me. Very, very different vein to the Hammer, Dracula, Frankenstein movies. And but I'll read you the blurb at the back anyway, just to give you an idea if if you're not familiar with the movie. A deadly epidemic is spreading through the remote Cornish village of Clagmore Heath. Now, as darkness falls, its victims are found foaming at the mouth with savage wounds upon their necks. After his brother becomes another fatality, Harry Spalding travels to Clagmore to investigate his sibling's mysterious death. Now, with little help from the superstitious locals, Harry follows a trail of macabre intrigue that leads him to the sinister Dr. Franklin, his strange but beautiful daughter, and a truly horrific family secret. Released in 1966, The Reptile is Hammer horror at its most nightmarish and bizarre. It's certainly second that. Yeah, fantastic movie from 1966. And this edition, guys, it's just got a couple of special features there if you want to reuse your cameras and take those in. But yeah, thoroughly enjoyable movie. Never had a sequel, and I think it's one of Hammer's finest movies. And to say the creature, it really terrified me, when I first saw it, like as a kid, and great performances from the cast and that. Fantastic story, very creepy atmosphere, and a lovely restoration here from Studio Canal. So there you go, guys. That's the first standalone, underrated Hammer horror movie from my collection. That is The Reptile. Next up is now this one's from the early 1970s. It stars the late great Peter Cushing, Joan Collins, and Ralph Bates. Quite a stellar cast there. It's more of a psychological thriller than a horror movie, and that movie is called Fear in the Night. Again, I'll just read you the blurb at the back just to give an idea if you haven't seen it. Now, Peggy, played by Judy Geeson, is recovering from a nervous breakdown when she's attacked by an unseen assailant. As she struggles to break free, her attacker's artificial arm comes loose and Peggy blacks out in sheer terror. Now, when Peggy and her new husband, Rat Roberts, played by Ralph Bates, spend the honeymoon at the deserted country school where Roberts is a teacher, they discover it is deserted except for headmaster Michael, played by Peter Cushing, and his wife Molly, played by Joan Collins. As she returns to the cottage one evening, Peggy is once more attacked by a man with one arm, and when Roberts is sent to London on behalf of the headmaster, Peggy is left all alone to face her fears. So there you go, guys. Another Hammer classic from the early 70s. Fantastic movie, as I say, starring the late great Peter Cushing and Ralph Bates and Joan Collins, and that is Fear in the Night. Next up is another Hammer classic, again from the early 1970s. This one stars Andrew Keir, the lovely Valerie Leon, and James Villiers. And that movie is called Blood from the Mummy's Tomb. Another great movie from Hammer, and just like the others, I'll read you the blurb at the back just to give an idea, in case you're not familiar with the movie. Now, Margaret, played by Valerie Leon, suffers a recurring nightmare in which she sees an ancient Egyptian queen to whom she bears an uncanny resemblance, sealed up in a sarcophagus. The priests who entomb her first chop off her hand before throwing it to jackals. They are then killed by a mysterious and powerful force that lacerates their throats. Margaret's father, Professor Fuchs, played by Andrew Keir, gives her a ring that he discovered in the tomb of Queen Sarah 20 years before. The ring that was on the Queen's disembodied hand. Now, at the moment, Fuchs discovered the Queen's perfectly preserved, still bleeding body. Margaret's mother died giving birth to her. When a certain celestial conjunction is complete and 3 key artifacts are assembled by Terra's corpse, the evil sorceress will be reborn. So there you go, guys. Another Hammer classic, another great standalone movie, which I think is a highly underrated, not spoken about enough, in my opinion. Blood from the Mummy's Tomb, and there you go, guys. Lovely Valerie Leon, yeah, fantastic actress, yeah. Been in many other movies as well. Been in 1 or 2 of the Carry On movies, and she used to do that advert with the high karate, if you remember that. Yeah, just a couple of special features on this again, guys. Yeah, it's from 1971, this movie. So there you go, just a few there, guys. So yeah, another, as I say, another fine standalone classic from Hammer Studios, and that is Blood from the Mummy's Tomb. Next up, guys, is going back to the 60s again, and another fine movie which I think from Hammer, which I think is very underrated. It stars John Carson, Diane Clare, and Andre Morell. And this is actually my all-time favourite zombie movie, and it was actually the first zombie movie I ever saw, and that is The Plague of the Zombies. Yeah, and again, just like the reptile, that face, guys, absolutely terrified me watching that as a kid back in the late 60s, yeah. Especially there's a very, very weird scene involving the guy has a dream in a graveyard and that, and he dreams that the zombies are coming out the graves and trying to throttle him, basically, yeah. Yeah, okay then, guys, again, I'll just read you the blurb at the back. Now, in a remote 19th century Cornish village, an evil presence lurks within the darkness of the witching hour, a mysterious plague relentlessly taking lives at an unstoppable race. Unable to find the cause, Dr. Peter Thompson enlists the help of his former tutor, Sir James Forbes. Desperate to find an antidote, what they find instead are empty coffins with the diseased corpses missing. Following a series of strange and frightening clues, Thompson and Forbes are led to a deserted mine where they discover a world of black magic and a doomed legion of flesh-eating slaves, the Walking Dead. So there you go, guys, another Hammer classic, another great standalone movie from the wonderful Hammer Studios and that, yeah. And again, just a couple of special features there, guys, if you want to freeze your screens and take those in. Yeah, so as I say, this is my #1 favourite zombie movie, and after that, I'd say Night of the Living Dead, the original 1968, the George A. Romero classic. But, oh yeah, lovely transfer by Studio Canal, and John Carson, he plays a real menacing villain in this, he really does, and he's a very fine actor, John Carson, he was very good in Taste of Blood of Dracula as well, and oh yeah, good creepy story, and the zombies and that, they look, they're quite eerie, and quite scary and that, especially when you're watching them as a kid. So there you go, that is The Plague of the Zombies. And the fifth and final movie in my standalone underrated Hammer collection is another fantastic one, starring the two stalwarts, the great stalwarts of the Hammer Horror Studios, Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee, and that movie is called The Gorgon. Now, this is an indicated title, guys, so it hasn't got any blurb at the back. It's just got... They did actually release a special edition of this. It just got the bare disc, guys, yeah. Yeah, it's basically about this mythical creature, the Gorgon. If you look at it, you turn to stone. And, oh, yeah, very, very eerie movie. And again, when I first saw her face, that woman with all the snakes in her hair, petrified me as a kid, watching it in the late 60s on our old black and white telly. Oh, yeah, fantastic. One of Hammer's best, in my opinion, And again, never had a sequel, certainly merited a sequel, and they did a really good job with this story and that, as I say, and lovely colour, and, lovely cinematography, and a very, very solid storyline. So there you go, that is The Gorgon from 1964. Okay then, guys, so that's the 5 anyway, that's the 5 standalone Hammer movies, which I think, are very, very underrated. And I did mention at the start of the video, I've got an honorary mention. Now, I bet you can't guess what this one is. Not really a horror movie as such, but it does star our favourite Hammer stalwart, the late great Peter Cushing, in the role of a bank manager. And that movie is called Cash on Demand. Yeah, fantastic movie. Set again, it's an indicator release. Set around Christmas time. Peter Cushing plays this rather stingy, stuffy bank manager, who sort of like he gets the shock of his life when this guy comes into the bank and it demands, I think it's a £50,000 or £100,000 out of the safe and that. I won't tell you too much about the story in case you haven't seen it, but it's got a great twist at the end as well, guys. It really has, yeah. And Peter Cushing, well, what can you say about Peter Cushing? He's fantastic in every movie. He's fantastic in every movie. It goes without saying, and as I say, that's a lovely addition. Yeah, there you go. It's stills from the movie. And a great booklet. So yeah. So there you go. That's Cash on Demand. And that is from 1961, the year I was born. Yeah, so as I say, it's not so much a horror as a psychological thriller, but very, very gripping, and I can highly recommend it. If you love Hammer movies, you might have missed this one, actually. I didn't really know so much about it until later on, when I sort of like heard people talking about it and that, so I thought to check it out, and boy, I certainly wasn't disappointed, yeah. And it's got, as I say, it's got good story. It reminds me a little bit of the Scrooge story, sort of like a moral to it, and set around Christmas time. And yes, so I can highly recommend Cash on Demand, if you haven't seen it. Okay, guys, that's it. So I hope you enjoyed the video. So just to recap, all standalone Hammer movies that I think are, very, very underrated. So that's Reptile, Fear in the Night, Blood from the Mummy's Tomb, The Plague of the Zombies, The Gorgon, and our honorary mention, Cash on Demand. Okay then, guys, so that about winds this video up. Have you seen any of those movies? Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Always interested to hear, what you guys think of the movies I, show on in my videos and that. But yeah, they're all crackers, them guys. They really are. They're fantastic, yeah. And and there's another one I've just thought just come to mind now in regards to standalone Hammer movies, but it's not exactly underrated because it's spoken about a lot, in the Hammer universe, and that is The Curse of the Werewolf, starring Oliver Reed. Hammer never ever made another werewolf movie for some reason, but that again, another very good standalone Hammer movie. If you haven't seen it, I can highly recommend that one. Curse of the Werewolf, again from the early 60s. Yeah. All right then, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. The usual, if you like it, please feel free to share, subscribe, comment, and all going well, I shall be back again very, very soon with another video. Take care. Bye for now.